I had warned him about his long speech. Yesterday, Ralph and I was together. I couldn't get a word in. This morning we was together. I couldn't get a word in. So I said, Ralph, could you hold it down just a little bit? It's important. We have to realize that. But Ralph, I love you. And I think that, you're the greatest. Hey. Yeah. Ralph, anytime something happened in Benton Harbor, Ralph get on the plane and come. He don't even hesitate. You don't have to ask him twice. Matter of fact, they had a Workers' World. They had a homecoming for me. And Ralph gonna surprise me and gonna be there for about a 4-hour event. I was so happy to see him. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Ralph. You're a true hero. My good friend Pam Africa. Yeah, we right there. And I want to say to everybody, Larry Holmes, especially, much love for you. And we're going to stand up and fight for your husband, for your father. We're going to do that. Yeah. But we want to free every single political prisoner. And those who are not political prisoners. Because prison is no place for a human being. We have to learn that. But I won't hold you long. I don't talk long. I'm really short. So if you decide to fall asleep while I'm talking, I won't be mad. That's a promise. You see, a lot of times people say things and don't mean, but I mean it. So trust me. You see, because you have to understand prison. That's if you've never been there. You see, they have their own rules. But I jotted down a few notes that I wanted you to know. The struggle that have taken place in recent years in Benton Harbor is a case in point. One holds a number of lessons for the American people. The fight in Benton Harbor is a war. It's not a conflict. It's the real deal. It's over the Americans will have prosperity and democracy or live in poverty under the heels of open corporate rule. See, my fight with Whirlpool is amazing because one of the things that had happened in 2005, we called for an international boycott of all Whirlpool products. And most times people say, well, we're going to have to make it national and stuff like that. But when you call a boycott, you got to go international now. Because these are global companies. So when we called that, the Washington Post posted in the newspaper that we had called a boycott of Whirlpool. And it was about to be a hostile takeover of Whirlpool. That was the most beautiful thing I ever heard. And I think it scared them half to death. Because they said that this little organization, Banco, the Black Autonomy Network Community Organization, can get something in the Washington Post. They must be about something. But anyway, the attack on democracy in Benton Harbor shows that the corporate power structure is determined to crush anyone who stands in its way. It is part of a process underway across America in various forms. After the once stable working class community of Benton Harbor was devastated by automation and globalization, the community began to resist. They used the race card on us. They played it, imposed it, the open rules of corporate power as a way of containing black people in Benton Harbor. They intimidated them. They had all kind of tricks to do this. Due to my involvement in the struggle for the freedom of the people, because it's all about the people. You see, they even tried to offer me money, which was really a joke. Because when they talk about $50,000 to go to the Banco organization, and I said, well, I'd rather have you employ the community. You see, if you can employ people, you'll never have a problem with me. I said, people need work. I said, if you can do that, you'll never have a problem. I told them that. No more picketing. No more fighting. No more boycotting. No more. They said, no, we'd rather give you the money. I turned it down. Anyway. See, I have known very few quiet days in the last 20 years. I have been in prison 3 times in Michigan. Seldom a day passes that my family and myself are not the recipient of a threat, a death threat. I have been victim of a nearly fatal prosecution. So in real sense, I have been battered by the storm of prosecution. I must admit, at times I have felt that I could no longer bear such a heavy burden. I have been tempted to retreat to a more quiet life. Me and my wife, retire, enjoy the life, just go through the motion, just play with the grandkids, simple life. But no. Every time I have such a temptation appear, something comes to strengthen me and sustain me. Something comes, it's always something. I have learned now the master burden is light that I fight compared to others. But some of my suffering over the last 20 years have also served to shape my thinking. I have always hesitated to mention these experiences for fear of conveying the wrong impression. A person who constantly calls attention to his trials and suffering is in danger of developing a moral complex, impressing others that he is consciously seeking sympathy. It is possible for one to be self-centered in his self-sacrifice, but I feel somewhat justified in mentioning them. My personal trials have taught me the value of unmerited suffering. As my suffering mounted, I soon realized that there were 2 different ways which I could respond to my situation. Either to react in bitterness or seek transform the suffering into a creative force. I decided to follow and transform my suffering into a creative force. Recognizing the necessity for suffering, I have tried to make it a virtue, if only to save myself from bitterness. I had attempted to see my personal ordeal as an opportunity. What I was doing more or less every time something happened, I always looked at it as an opportunity to do something. Mm-hmm. Even when they arrested me, I always said this is an opportunity. That's right. To rally the people. Mm-hmm. You see, because it's not about me. It's not about my family. It's about everybody. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, For many years of struggling against inequality, abusive power, poverty, oppression, corruption, injustice, I have finally realized and revealed something to me about myself. Being close to suffering death and the cruel and unusual punishment inside the prison system, it did not illuminate the brokenness of others in a moment of anguish and heartbreak. It also exposed my own brokenness. Once you see guys in prison and see how they're controlled, see, it's all about the control. It's all about the control. Once you see that, you see, you know that you have to do something. You see, here's the thing. Even in our brokenness, we can embrace humanity, which means embracing our broken nature and the compassion that remains. Or we can deny our own brokenness and compassion, as a result, deny our own humanity. I definitely wanted mercy for the residents of Benton Harbor. I wanted mercy for them because I knew that they could not stand up and fight this monster themselves. I knew that they didn't have the guts. You had to be, like when I went to jail and went to prison, everybody ran. They were scared to do it. They even left the city of Benton Harbor. They left the state. They was running. They were scared to death. But I did we had a meeting, and my wife recorded my voice over the thing. And I told them that they are the true losers. We're winning. I might be in prison, but we're winning. And they, and that gave them energy. And they became back a unit. I didn't want them to depend on me, If everything depended on me, then we don't have an organization, you see. So it grows, and now they're strong, they're not scared, they're happy I'm back, and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get to that. You know, we got other things that's even more important. I suggest to my friends and family that my strength, resistance, and perseverance were a victory. When I talk to them on the phone, I told it's a victory for us. Yes, a victory for everyone, worthy of celebrating, an occasion to remember. The establishment, which is the oppressor, which operates the system that oppresses the people. The established tortured me, but I'm still standing. The establishment lied on me, but I'm still standing. The establishment sent me to prison with absolutely no evidence, but I'm still standing. The establishment gave me 30 months to 10 years in prison. I survived, and I'm still standing. With absolutely no evidence, which could have been a death sentence for a 66-year-old man. You see, and Bessie being a black man, we don't live too much past 70s other than Ralph. But here's the key thing. I'm still standing. The all-white jury that was motivated by something other than the truth. But I'm still standing. Let us make this struggle for all of us who in the struggle against the establishment, which includes the corrupt criminal justices. Justice is for everyone. And it's not just one thing, it's everything. You see, let me tell you this. On April the 24th, 2014, it's my wife's birthday.
For me, it's birthday too.
Oh yeah? Shut your mouth. Anyhow, and now here's the thing about my wife. Now this is, you got to know this. She's never on time. I'm sitting in the car twiddling my thumbs and everything, you know, this way. But on this specific day, at 11 o'clock, we scheduled to leave at 11 o'clock. She's in the car, and we bagging out the driveway. Before I can get to Kalamazoo, which is about 45 minutes away, we got to Paw, whatever. We had got in the car, we've been gone 10 minutes. I get a call, my phone jumping off the hook, jumping up and down. The SWAT team is at your house. I said, who house? Your house. I said, what they want? They want you. I said, what for? You ought to know that. I said, are you serious? And then I hung up and somebody else called. It was just, people kept calling, so I didn't tell my wife, you know, because the first thing it was her birthday, so there was no reason spoiling her birthday. So I guess there we eat dinner, and I told her, I said, well, we got to stop by the attorney office. And she said, what for? I said, well, we need to go there right away. I said, we might have a major problem. So she said, okay. I said, okay, it's her birthday now. Don't forget that. That's important. It's her birthday. So I get there, me and Tad talking. He's the attorney. By the way, he took a dab on me. Anyway, he said, he called the prosecutor. Prosecutor said, well, we got a warrant for Reverend Pinkney arrest. Now think about this. Now you got the SWAT team. They got that big tank that, you know, and they got guys all in the truck. They got, you know, across the street is an apartment complex. They all in the bushes with their rifles. They got my whole house surrounded. The whole house. Nobody, the whole neighborhood. Nobody can go in their house. Nobody can come out of their house. They had the streets blocked off. And, you know, it didn't intimidate me because the good news, I wasn't at home. So my attorney called and he said, the first thing that came out of his mouth, he said, we got Reverend Pinkney just where we want him. My attorney said, well, he'll turn himself in on Monday. No, he won't. It's this Thursday now. We're going to get him today. I said, no, you're not, you're not going to get Reverend Pinkney. But here's the good news. The news came on, the 12 o'clock news. Reverend Pinkney is on the run. Reverend Pinkney, turn yourself in on TV. And I didn't hear until everybody was telling me. They were telling me, they say you was on the run, man. You on the run. I laughed. I said, yeah, I'm on the run for some petitions. So when the attorney told me that they had 5 felony charges against me for forgery, I said, well, I can't see that. Then they said, well, I'll allow the person to sign the petition twice. And so they charged me with 5 counts of forgery and 6 counts of allowing somebody to sign the petition twice. You see, so the attorney looked at me and I'm looking at him. I had no idea he was going to take a dive, but because I considered him my friend. You see, so you got to be aware of what you're doing. Anyhow, I don't want to take too much of y'all time. Are you sure? I don't want y'all to be talking about me behind my back now. I know. But anyway,
that's what we're here for.
In October, which was my birthday, October the 27th, we had the trial. And they convicted me on November, I think the 2nd or whatever it was. The prosecutor gets up. He tells the jury, we really don't have any evidence that said he did anything wrong, but you could still find him guilty. But here's what the judge said. He said, whatever decision y'all make is final. I said, final? So if you can make a bad decision, and what he said is really true, because so far we've been going through that. But anyway, he said that whatever decision you make is final. They found me guilty, gave me 30 months to 10 years in prison. And I think, Ralph, you was at the sentencing. Yeah, I gave him a little tongue lashing, but, I still got to go to prison, Matter of fact, here's what they did. Right after the sentencing, they took me straight from court, in my suit, straight to prison. Never, normally you get a week, they get the paperwork and all together, but they took me straight there. And then they had on there expedite. And they shot me up to Marquette, Michigan, which is 500 miles away from my home. And when I first got there, it was like they came after me. They wanted to see what I was made of. And they put me in a room that was full of mold. And it was making me sick. I was losing weight. I couldn't eat. And I wouldn't eat that food no way. But my wife would send me food, and David Soul would send me food. And so I probably had lost, I used to be a little bit heavier if you see some of the pictures, and I had lost maybe 30 pounds. And but I said this, I'm not going to die in prison. I said, that's what you want me to do. I am not going to die here in prison. You see, I don't care what you say and what you do. I'm not going to die in prison. So I start exercising. My food started coming in better, faster. And they saw that also. One of the guards, he wanted to taser me. When you walk in this way, if you walk down, if you touch him, that gives him like an assault. So he have permission to taser you. That's what he was trying to do. But he told me, I almost got you. I said, yeah, that'll never happen again. It'll never happen again, because I was being careless myself, because I know what they were trying to do, and yet still they wrote me tickets, all kind of stuff. But here's what's important. They cut off my communication for 6 months, 180 days. They claimed that I had made a 3-way call, which they knew it wasn't, but they said it was. David Soul had flew in to visit me. During the process, he was taking notes. And on his way out, they wanted the notes. And David didn't want to give it to him. But he was behind bars, so, they could keep him there, whatever they want. But he said, I'll let you have a copy. He gave him a copy of it. They arrested me and took me to the hole. They put me in a hole, and during that process, they started picketing outside the prison. You see, especially up there at Marquette, because that never happened. It's like 99.9% Caucasian. So that'll never happen, but they had Caucasians and everybody else picketing, which was so tremendous. And then we discover, here's what happened. They had charged me with smuggling because they couldn't spell smuggling. So when they brought the complaint to me, now remember this, my phone is off. There's no communication without. If they would have did that, I couldn't have no visitors, no nothing. That was going to probably be permanently, and they probably would put me in a level 5, and I'll be in the hole probably for the as long as I'm living, probably. But they had the nerve to charge me with smuggling. What makes this so important is that they couldn't spell. I would have helped them. All you have to do is put the right words in there, You don't know how to spell smuggling? So anyway, the hearing officer comes in. I'm in the hole now, right? The hearing officer come in, and they tell him I'm in the hole. For reason unknown, they opened the cell gate and let me out and told me to go back to the unit because it was smuggling. The guard told the hearing officer, he called himself the judge. He said, when I first went to see him, I told him he had to dismiss this, and he wanted to know why. I told him I didn't know how to smuggle. He said, you were smuggling. It says it right here. And remember this, guards don't lie. You might lie, but they don't lie. So he said, look, I looked at him looking dead in his eye. I told him, you got to dismiss this, because I don't know how to smuggle. And he said, he looked at it, I said, look at it. He said, yeah, that is smuggling. And but then he dropped a bomb on me. He said, I don't care nothing about evidence. It's how I feel. I don't rule on whether it's smuggling or smuggling. He said, you can probably win cases like that. I rule on how I feel. So I looked him dead in his eye. And I told him, you look like you feel pretty good today. And he smiled. He said, yeah, I do feel pretty good. He said, I'll let you know at 4:30. When he came back with not guilty, that whole place went up. All the kids and they was all cheering and stuff because they thought they had me. But let me get to the kids, so it's kind of, because I don't want to take too much of y'all time, because I know how valuable time is. The children there, they like that rap music. And first come, first serve on the TV. Whoever get there first are able to watch TV. So they didn't do anything wrong, but they had a system. They knew how to, if you oversleep today, then you get the TV. So they stayed in control of the TV. And every morning I'd be reading my Bible, and I'm sitting back there listening to rap music. And I didn't like it, but nothing I can do about it. They in control. First come, first serve. So one day, one of the kids asked me to help him with his math. And I said I would, but I laid down the groundwork. I told him, you miss one day, I'm through with you. Okay? If you miss one day, it's over. So he came, I showed him how, I took him all the way back to the basis. adding, subtracting, multiplying, divide. I showed them how to multiply and divide at the same time. 9 times 9 is 81. You divide 9 into 81, you get 9. And he was fascinated. So he goes and tells his group, the boys, yeah, the Reverend gonna help us. He gonna help me. And one by one, they come. They go. They wanted to learn. And the way you deal with them, you see, they weren't getting something for nothing. You see, they had to do what they had to do in order to please me. So we started, here's the good news. We started teaching not only math, history, the civil rights, all kind of movement. I taught them about the capitalistic system. You see, and religiously, every morning at 6 o'clock, every morning at 6 o'clock, they would be there. You know, and for 2 hours, you know, I'm teaching them. And they listen. And the book, The Death of a King by Tavis Smiley, I would read that book. I would read it to them. And I would read every, you know, just, you know, some of them couldn't read. And one guy, he couldn't read at all, and he came to me and asked me to teach him how to read. But he didn't want everybody else to know that he couldn't read. So what I would do is I took him all the way back to the basics. ABC, sounding out words and stuff like that. And what he did before I left, he was able to read. And all these guys now, they didn't have their GED. And what we would do, like I would show them, like they give them a book that they can go through. I said, well, here's a better way. Why don't we just teach you? You know, rather than you trying to read the book and stuff like that, because most of them couldn't, you know, they were and they couldn't do. So what I did, I took them back to where they need to be, and we started there, you know. And they, you know, Martin Luther King, you know, reading Martin Luther King, they sit there and listen to me read, you know, and which was so amazing. But also, they became my protectors, you see. So, you know, you don't get all free. You know, you got to do some work. And they knew that these guys up in Marquette was trying to kill me. They knew that. Yeah. And they surrounded me and protected me. Oh. Yeah. And I'm talking about, I would have had more students, but they only allow you to have 4 at a table, and we only had 4 tables. But some of the guys I would help on the side, stuff like that, but I had a formula where you had to do certain things. And here's the good news behind all that. I didn't have to listen to no more rap music. That was the good news. But anyhow, we also had a food strike. Now, the food up there, they had worms all in the food. They had the potatoes, they call them potato worms, that be in the food. They magnets all in the food. And then when you take it back up there to them, they tell them, well, you just got some extra meat, you know, and they thought that was funny.
Oh my God.
I didn't eat over there. See, I was fortunate that they had so many people who loved me, you know. Matter of fact, I got over 20,000 letters. People writing me from all over the world. They were writing me, you know. But when they have a problem, I got a problem. That's how it worked, you see. And that's what I want to teach them. That when you go back in the world, it's not all about you. You see, a lot of times we want things to be about us. It's not about you. They can eliminate you and the whole movement ends. So here's what we did. We went out and got everybody to, well, first of all, everybody who could afford it. We wanted them, they had little soups. You had the Roman noodle soups. You heard about them? Them little thing I think they cost 34 cents in prison. So what we did, we went out and got probably maybe 1,000 noodles. We had everybody to order the noodles so we can be ready. You know, we're not going to do something and don't be organized. That's what I was trying to teach them. Organization. So you had lieutenants. We had different things. We set up everybody doing certain things. So we went around and collect all the food. So the day that we called for the protest of the cooking, they knew something was going on, because when the first unit went over, didn't go to eat, and they normally go to eat for certain foods, nobody went. They was mad, and it was a tremendous success. They had they had this one unit where people, they're sex offenders. Nobody messed with them. Nobody go talk to them. I went down there and talked with them. I told them that we need you. When I told them that we needed them, it immediately put them in a position that they want to participate. And they're the one who had all the money. See, you got to remember that. Most of them, families are wealthy. So we put off this food protest. It was a tremendous success. I spoke with Channel 10, and they had me on the news talking about the protest. But nobody could say that they was the leader. That's what I wanted people to understand. Nobody could be the leader of this. Nobody. Because if you're the leader, then they say you're inciting a riot. You see. So that was one of the two. But it was so good, it brought the whole unit together. Everybody. See, if you're going to go to prison, make sure you do what you're supposed to do. You have an obligation to organize, mobilize the people at all costs. But I'm only going to go a few more minutes because I know it's close to 6 now. But I got one more quick story to tell y'all. I'll finish that story some other time because that story is a good one too. But this is good. In 2005, we did another recall. That was the first recall in 2005. We recalled the county, he was a city commissioner, but he was also a Whirlpool flunky. He was a puppet for Whirlpool. And they was getting ready to build this Jack Nicklaus signature golf course. Okay? I told them in 2001 that it was coming. They said Pinkney is a madman. That's what they said. They said, I'm a madman. Oh, he don't know. And then in 2005, I'm a genius. Pinkney know everything. If you want to know something, go ask Pinkney, But before, Pinkney don't know nothing. But anyway, we did a recall of this commissioner. And the way we did it with the absentee ballot. It was an ingenious idea. Because we worked the absentee ballot from the senior citizens, everybody. They wanted them to go. They wanted someone to lead the thing. So what I did was we made sure that we went out and talked to all the senior citizens and told them why. Because during that process, the people that they was taking the houses from, they would cut their water off. They cut your water off, they condemn your house. And then they come and take your children. So it's a process, you see. And most people didn't understand it. I understood it. So I'm teaching, I'm educating, I'm talking about it. Always educating the people. Some people want to hear, some people don't. I use the term stick and move. Once I give you the information, what you do with that information is on you. Don't come crying later. And we got a history of crying later. He was right all along. But anyway, this was so sweet. We won the election. We defeated this guy. This guy had the largest family. He had the backing of Whirlpool Corporation, and they was mad. They went out and got this young man named Martell Williams to say that I paid him $5. They paid him $10 to say that I paid him $5. Yeah. They paid him $10, and we had it on tape. We had it all. They wasn't dealing with just an ordinary person. They deal with a guy who know what he's doing. So after that, they start kicking in people's doors. Now, once again, this is just an election that they put people on for 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They go to their house and kick the door in for a recall petition. And they try to get people to say that I paid them and that I was in possession of an absentee ballot. Not that I altered it, not that I changed it, that I was in possession. That's 5 years in prison. And here's what they did. If you had some kind of felony or something like that, they would make a deal with you. If you come in and testify against Pinkney, then we'll give you, we'll drop that charge against you. That was the thing. So anyway, I'm gonna make a long story short, but here's how important it is for us to stick together and understand what we're doing. We have to learn to fight together, stand together. We need to organize. Educate. That's how you deal with the thing. But anyhow, during the trial, same all-white jury, we had it was 2 trials. One trial ended in a hung jury because we had 2 blacks on there. It ended in a hung jury. The next trial, they convicted me. All-white jury. They went out and smoked a cigarette and came back and said he's guilty. And one of the girls that was there from News 57, she started crying. She was black. She said, "This ain't right." I said, "Well, it is right to them. They got all the power. Until we come together and fight together, it's going to continue this way." So they couldn't send me to prison that time. I guess they could if they wanted to. But anyway, they gave me probation. I accepted it. I wrote an article in this paper, this little bitty thin paper. I quoted Deuteronomy 28, starting with the 15th verse. Thou should not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, that all these things will come upon you. And the curses. You got blessing and cursing. So the curse is going to fall upon him. So the judge said, his exact words was that Reverend Pinkney had threatened my family. Me, my family, my children, children, everybody else. And it's important because it was just a Bible verse. You must be doing something awful terrible, to be scared of a Bible verse. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You must be doing something awful terrible. But anyhow, I don't want to take too much of your time. But I'm sitting in court, and this judge, the judge that they want him to testify how this affected him. You say, "How did this affect you?" He said, I'm not going to testify. I'm not going to go on the oath under that. Well, we knew right then you weren't going to go on the oath, so we had brought in the expert in to tell them what the Bible verse meant. And so they didn't want to hear that. They said, he threatened him. All the newspaper, now this is the Herald Plain. That's not like this one. It's the other Herald, the corporate newspaper, the fascist newspaper. They said Pinkney threatened judge and judge family. Big news all on the news. Pinkney done it again. They was all over me. So they sentenced me to 3 years in prison. And they like 3. Something about that 3 really gets them. So they sentenced me to 3 years in prison. I had served about 9. Well, I served a year. And then I was released on appeal bond, which that never happens. You never get an appeal bond in the state of Michigan. I don't care what the situation is. But they gave me one. And eventually they overturned it. But the bottom line to this, they thought that Pinkney would never, ever, ever be back. They said Pinkney would never, never be back. They even my wife, she couldn't even go to the store. The white folks was all around her, giving her the old sneer and and she really didn't care about that, but they did. And she told me, and they put me under house arrest when I got in. But here's what they did. See, they thought that they had buried me. They said Pinkney would never, ever be back. See, when you bury somebody, you don't expect them to come back. You see? But when you plant them, you expect them to rise again. So I'm here to tell y'all today, we must start to mobilize, organize, and stand and fight this corrupt system. Can we fight this corrupt system? Can we fight this corrupt system? Can we fight this corrupt system? We will win. All right. On that note, I don't want to take up too much of your time. But also, there's a book been written in reference to Reverend Pinkney, the Soldier of Truth. It's underneath Ralph's seat. It's a mangy $10. Read the story. It has some of the good stories in there. And I only got 20 books, so those of you, let's get them. Let's keep it going. Keep that line going. Keep it going. Get Ralph handle that. See, I told you he was good for something. Did I tell you? But thank y'all so much for listening to me. And I really, really, really enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.